Hey everyone, welcome back to a Woman Wednesday here on A Liquid Lunch. Once again, I'm Fernando Uribe filling in for the great John Tobacco here. Got a great program going live until 2 p.m. Here on Biz TV. Also check us out on Facebook Live. Thank you again for joining us here today on a Woman Wednesday. And certainly, since it is Woman Wednesday, joining us here live is the great Miss Mrinalini Kumari. She is the co-chairwoman of Indian Voices for Donald Trump. Miss Kumari, welcome to Liquid Lunch here on a Woman Wednesday. How are you?
It's lovely to be here. Thanks for having me. Nice to meet you.
Likewise with you. And certainly, Ms. Kumari, we know that the Indian community, not just in New York City and New Jersey, but really around the country, has taken quite a liking to the president. As we all know, the Prime Minister of India is a staunch ally of President Trump. What can you share with our audience today about the outreach of Indian Voices for Donald Trump?
The Indian Voices for Donald Trump is also a grassroots organization that helps people to register to vote and tells them about the presidential election and is building momentum among the Indian community for the president, which the Indians like the president a lot, actually, and they're getting more and more towards his Team Trump.
Certainly. And we know a latest op-ed that you wrote really broke down the connection between the president and, again, between India and Indian Americans. And it's been underestimated by the Democratic Party. Why do you think that is?
The Democratic Party have tended to take Indians for granted, and they've just thought that they would be voting for them, as Indians traditionally have done so. But I think they're changing now, because to Indians, safety and security is extremely important, and so is education and business. And India is great President Trump is great for India and is great for business.
Well, certainly. I'm looking at some numbers here. We're examining 2.5 million Indian Americans and registered voters, specifically in battleground states like Florida, Virginia, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. It seems that the Indian community is overwhelmingly in support of the president's policies, specifically on the economy, right?
Yes, they are. The community that believes in working hard and getting rewarded for working hard. And it's a community that does not believe so much. It believes in hard work versus handouts. It does not have the objective of let's take care of you from cradle to grave. They want to participate in a society in a meaningful manner.
Well, one of the things that you alluded to in your op-ed was, again, the idea that the Indian American community is predicated on a strong work ethic, on sort of traditional family values. And it seems that the Democratic Party, Ms. Kumari, is gravitating away from that. They're becoming quite radical, as a matter of fact, on issues, especially social issues, and more so economic issues. What's been the feedback among the membership within the organization?
They are becoming quite radical in certain social issues, yes. But what is most frightening to a lot of Indians is the security issue. When you see cities like New York City and Washington, D.C. that are getting decimated and destroyed under these Democratic governors or Democratic rule, and nothing is being done about it. So we don't feel safe. That's extremely important for us to have our children go to school and come back in one piece, so to speak.
Ms. Kumari, isn't it funny that in recent months, when we've seen cities go to complete hell in this country, as you mentioned, New York City, Washington, D.C., but we've seen other cities across the country, Los Angeles and Portland and Seattle, it seems that, many on the left, whether it's the media or elected officials, talk about, oh, this is Trump's America. But isn't it interesting that during the previous presidency, when you had riots in Ferguson, in Milwaukee, also in New York City, wasn't that Obama's America? But you never heard a peep from the liberal media. And I think even Indian Americans know that it seems to be a very disingenuous perception.
It's extremely hypocritical. Everything is blamed to the president, good or bad. He doesn't get credit for anything he does, versus anything that bad does happen goes on his time. Like New York City, it's the most democratic city that is. But surprisingly enough, when I speak to a lot of people here too, especially the blue collar people who work really hard, they are leaning towards President Trump themselves. It's just not the Indian Americans, it's people in general. People are fed up with this whole thing.
Well, I agree with you. And again, I've grown up across the river from New York City. I've been going to Manhattan since I was a child. It breaks my heart to see what's going on with New York City right now. Businesses are leaving, residents are leaving. We're seeing thousands upon thousands of vacancies of apartments. When did you ever think you would see vacant apartments in New York City, Ms. Kumari?
it's a world that you didn't really think would ever come to exist, and you can't blame it on COVID. It's everything else that's going along. I mean, 25,000 police officers or 2,500 police officers, I'm not sure about the number, have been taken away from their jobs, and this whole defunding of the police has left people very vulnerable. And when the mayor keeps trying to blame President Trump for everything, people know it's all nonsense.
Mr. Kumar, you're absolutely correct, and it's funny to me that Democrats, specifically liberals like Bill De Blasio and Governor Andrew Cuomo and other liberal governors and mayors, think that the public is stupid, that we don't see the optics of like cities being run into the ground, they're being destroyed because of liberal economic policies, and just again a lack of law and order in the cities, specifically in the Indian American community. How important is that for the family structure?
It's extremely important for the family structure because, as I mentioned before, it is about safety, and President Trump is a law and order president. Besides being a law and order president, look what he's done even for the therapeutics for coronavirus. As much as one can bash him about a lot of other things, I don't think these therapeutics would not have been, it would not have existed or come to this stage had it not been for him.
Now, Ms. Kumari, again, I hate to put you on the spot, but listen, we're less than 20 days to go until Election Day. Any predictions, like maybe an electoral vote count here coming up on November 3rd?
I'm sorry? What?
Predictions by you coming up for November 3rd when it comes to the electoral vote. Will the president squeak by, or do you think it'll be a landslide?
It's hard to say. It's one of those elections that's really, it could surprise either party a lot. And even the fact that even if the president does squeak by, it's a big mandate to what the Democratic Party should be and how they've abandoned the people that they actually stood for.
Now, Ms. Kumar, when you mentioned that the Democratic Party has abandoned people, they've abandoned a lot of demographics, a lot of minorities. We know that the Indian American community is a growing minority in this country. Within your organization or others that you talk to that are similar, what's been sort of the overwhelming consensus that, Indian Americans maybe are just completely leaving the Democratic Party and saying, you know what, we're more conservative with our money, we're more conservative with our values and our ideas. Do you think that's something that's going to be permanent for years to come?
It is definitely permanent for years to come, for sure. It's just starting now. So because they've been used to voting for the Democratic Party, but they're seeing what the Democratic Party is really, and they like the fact that the taxes are lower, they can keep more money for their family and for their children and Indians tend to save a lot of money, and they tend to send a lot of money back home to India also, which is a humongous part of the money that goes back to India for their families in India. So people generally would like a lower tax structure, and it's for the working people.
Now, before I let you go, Ms. Kumari, again, referring back to your op-ed in The Guardian, back home, for any family that you may have or others that you know back home in India, what has been sort of the media coverage concerning the president? I'm assuming it has to be more favorable than it is here in the United States.
Well, they absolutely love him. Let the 1.3 Indian billion people vote, and he'll definitely win.
Well, I can certainly imagine that. I mean, we know that the perception of the president in a country like India is overwhelmingly popular. But real quick here, again, on a Women Wednesday, we know that the Democratic Party perhaps has not been the best to women. It seems that, liberal women are okay, but conservative women, they're being dismissed or disregarded. How upsetting is that to you?
It is upsetting because they just take people for granted, like they take the black vote for granted, they take the women vote for granted. And just because they think they have Kamala Harris now, so all women will vote for them and all black people will vote for them. I mean, she had the most dismal record of the black votes that she had in the primaries, worse than anybody else, actually. And Tulsi Gabbard put her in a place so correctly, and she outed her out. So I think for VP Biden to have taken her was a bad choice.
Ms. Kumar, you hit it right out of the ballpark with that observation. Again, this is a woman who is within a heartbeat of the presidency. And if that doesn't scare people, I don't know what will when it comes to November 3rd. But again, real quick, if you want to share with our audience any important links, social media for your organization moving forward.
Yes, it's on the website. It's for Indian Voices for Trump, and it's in the Trump campaign website. One can go there and check it out. Please support us. Please vote. Most important, please vote. And you'll see President Trump is the best for our country for sure.
You know what, Ms. Kumar, I absolutely wholeheartedly agree with you. And I know that many within the Indian community and any community that's commonsensical and rational will agree with
Exactly.
you. Thank you so much for joining us here today on a Woman Wednesday on Liquid Lunch. We look forward to talking again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kumar.